Welcome to the Clarity Digital Pod. I'm your host, Al Sefati. Today I'm joined by Pam Didner, a seasoned B2B marketer, speaker, and author. We talk about how to navigate marketing in uncertain times, from tightening budgets to leveraging owned media and AI. It's a grounded, no fluff conversation with real takeaways. Let's get into it.
All right. Hi, Pam. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for accepting my invitation. I met you at B2B Marketing Exchange. I believe it was in Atlanta last
Yes,
year.
that was a lot of fun.
It-
Yes, that's where we connected.
yeah, I attended your workshop. I
Oh,
think it was
so
Go to
nice.
Market. I really enjoyed it. I even won a chocolate, but I gave it to somebody else
You
because
did. You know what? Don't do that next time.
yeah, I'm trying to get that blood sugar, under control. But
I can
yeah,
completely understand that. Yeah,
I'm really happy that you accepted my invitation. I know I keep bothering you, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll.
that is not true. It's always wonderful to talk to a fellow B2B marketer. So I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. So, I think you're a senior level, CMO level, marketing B2B marketer, but I think you would probably introduce yourself better than I would. So, if you don't mind introducing yourself for our audience, that would be wonderful.
Certainly. Hey, everyone. If you are watching live, and B2B marketer here, that's what I do, like B2B marketing through and through. And I've been in the marketing front in the past 10, 15 years. And I was actually a marketer supporting sales for a long period of time. So my experience is always around content marketing, marketing strategy, planning, demand generation, sales enablement. And recently, I kind of branch out and then see how AI is going to impact that a lot of marketings or the modern marketings that we do. So, and I do a lot of consulting, and I also do a lot of speaking and the workshops. And that's how Ali and I met, is through my workshop. So it's wonderful to be here.
And you're a great speaker, and your workshops are great. I really saying that I really benefited a lot from it. And I are you going to be going to any of those future B2B marketing any or no?
Conferences.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of private enterprise internal marketing conferences, and then I just finished one with McGraw Hill, and I also just did channel partner mastermind
Hmm.
marketing session with Zebra Technologies. So I've been doing a lot of like a private enterprise internal marketing get together. And I will be at the Content Marketing World in September and also the B2B Forum and from Marketing Profs in November. And maybe there are other conferences I can go to. Well, if you have conferences, you need speakers, reach out to me.
Yeah, for sure. Highly recommend you. I think this is a good time for us to talk about what you and I were planning to talk about, which is
Sure.
a lot is changing in the marketing world today with emergence of AI, but also
Yep.
the markets. The tariffs and the markets being unstable, and I have sensed a lot of uncertainties,
Totally.
and as a marketer, and I feel also our client and my colleagues, other marketers, it's been a topic of conversation. So wanted to get your take on that and see if you're also feeling that, and how do you usually go about it? What would be a good path for marketers forward?
Great question. I think you brought a very good point. Since March this year, and especially after the current administrations announced their economic policy moving forward, there is actually a lot of uncertainties within our economy and also in terms of a tariff situation. A lot of companies are very concerned about their materials cost, especially if they have a physical products. And with that being said, a lot of companies are taking kind of like a pause in terms of the marketing outreach and specifically in terms of a budget, right? So a lot of time marketing is not free. It does require some kind of budget to fuel your marketing outreach and your marketing efforts. So what I have seen actually in the past probably 6 to 8 weeks, and many companies are waiting for kind of like the dust to settle before they kind of start going full steam with their marketing effort. And I totally understand why they're doing that way. But I feel there are things that you can do to keep the business going. And I would like to share some of that with everyone. So
That would be great. Does going on a long vacation include it?
actually, it's not a bad idea in this time to take a vacation as a
Yeah.
marketer. But I understand with a budget cut and that we feel that our hands as a marketer are tied, right? It's like we don't have a budget. There's a lot of things you cannot do. And I do agree with that to some extent. So, with that being said, you need to be incredibly flexible and agile. You have to look at the things that you can do, kind of still create certain kind of impact and require lower budget. But most of the things that require lower budget requires attention, requires you to work on it. Is that helpful? So what I said is I want to make sure everybody understand is a lot of time you have agencies, you have a contractor to help you, which is great. If you don't have that, you somehow have to roll up your sleeves and you have to do some stuff on your own, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. There are a couple of things that you can look into doing. I'm just going to give people some ideas. Number one is look at your own media, your blog, your website, your email engine, all of that is yours. So, can you do better on that? Can you optimize your website a little bit more? Okay. If you are doing a webinar and using Zoom, can you also do that and do some of the organic promotion on your own? So there are stuff that you can do to kind of, I call it KTBR, keep the business running.
Hmm.
So that's one way to think about. The other thing that is very important in the tough time like this, you need to stay incredibly close to sales, hip to hip. Try to understand what they are doing. What can you do to accelerate, their closure? If there's anything they need your help, you should always say yes, I'll do it, because they need your help more than anything else,
Yeah.
right? Especially in the digital marketing world. So think about what you can do with your sales team and try to make their job easier. Indirectly, you'll get credit for it.
Well, that's great, and I agree with you on all accounts. I got into marketing starting out with SEO. So when it comes
Right?
to earned media and owned media, you're speaking my
You get it.
language.
You get it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And this is a time where even us as marketing agencies, usually we tend to neglect our own website because we're so
Totally.
busy with our client work. And this is a time where we're thinking about expanding the content on our website, the service pages. Maybe I saw, just looking at it, there's a lot of inconsistencies with the tone of voice. So maybe fix that, add more videos. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. This is a time to kind of reflect and improve things like you said with your earned and owned media, email marketing, your list, cleaning up your list, all that stuff.
Yep, I totally agree. So now, like, I do the same thing with my website as well. And Ali, it's basically I will look at my website because just like you said, I work very hard to optimize it for SEO.
Mhm.
But I also have changed a lot in the past 1.5 years.
Yeah.
There's additional speaking topics I can talk about. There are additional workshop I can do, but because I'm very busy on getting a lot of things done, I kind of let my website go. And now is actually a great time. It's just like you said, a time of reflection,
Mhm.
right? So what are the things you kind of put on the bottom of the list? And the now is actually use the time to actually clean up, do something about it, and to get yourself ready when the time comes.
That's great. And another great point you made was about working closely with salespeople. We are a smaller agency, so we have a sales guy, not people. And I was just looking at, I don't even know what it was, Apollo, or we had a subscription to Apollo, and I was
Yeah,
like,
that's a good
uh,
tool.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, maybe we need to change our approach and be more of marketing. And as instead of cold emailing people to want to work with us, maybe we can send them something, so he and I were collaborating like on a hook, And as a marketer, I tend to have really good ideas, and as a salesperson, he has a lot of good ideas. And and then he and I started like re-strategizing some of our campaigns in Apollo, because I didn't even have any influence on it before. He was running him, and
Yeah.
he started saying that, hey, nothing's working. And I'm like, nothing working where? And then he's like, in Apollo. I'm like, what the heck is Apollo? You're paying for it. I'm like, okay, let me. It was just crazy. And then I'm like, oh my god, like we have this tool. Let's kind of like, let's figure out a better strategy, where as opposed to saying people, hey, let's get married, let's just give them something of value, like a PDF or something valuable, get them in our funnel. And like you said, with us, people may not be ready to pull the trigger right now because of this state of union, right? So
Yeah.
so that's a very good point you made. This is a time to get even closer to sales.
Two-way sales team. Yes.
Yeah. And I also want to add, if you have any health goals like me wanting to lose weight, this is a good time. Hit,
I like that. I like that.
hit the gym.
Oh, God.
Yeah, very cool. What about, you know, like larger enterprises that are still into new marketing? I've noticed that they tend to cut back sometimes on the wrong campaigns, as opposed, like, they tend to cut back the dollars, as opposed to attempting maybe to change the language a little bit, have more empathy, as opposed to creating, obviously most of our conversation today is about B2B, but even on a B2B or B2C, having a less aggressive tone and more sensitive to what consumers are dealing with. Have you had what are your takes on that? Is this a good time for us to revisit our offers and messaging?
Completely. I wrote a blog post, and I actually listed kind of like 8 scrappy options or suggestions that you can do in the time of uncertainty. So it's my latest blog. If you go to pamdinner.com and click on blog, you should see that blog post. And one thing I did say, one option or one suggestion is actually refresh content, marketing content, and the sales collateral. Right now is a good time because nobody is spending a lot of money. And if you actually have the asset source files in your asset library, you can update them, or you can just have your contractor update them, because it's not creating a new content, it's
Hmm.
updating. So the dollar amount is going to be substantially less because you are not creating the new content. And so one thing that you need to do is, okay, now it's time. That's a refresh and update the existing contents that we have. Okay, that's number one. And I like that you mentioned about the tone. All right.
Hmm.
So in terms of a tone, obviously everybody have your brain voice, and you try to align your writing and your talk, your content creation along with your brain voice. However, there's a subtle details in terms of, okay, in the time of uncertainties, should we be very pushy and aggressive and to drive that sense of agency to encourage people to buy? Or should we be incredibly empathetic and not necessarily put the sales on your friend driver, but really focus on, okay, you understand your prospects and or customers challenges and talk from that angle? Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer to this. I want to make sure everybody understand. This, if you are very closely with sales, and that depends on the sales stages you are in. If the salespeople are very close to the finish line, maybe creating that sense of urgency is more important. If you are in a sense of nurturing, maybe the empathetic tone is more important. So you have to think through in terms of what are the prospects, where are they? And then you pick and choose what makes sense for them. So the things I'm talking about in essence is a form of personalization.
Hmm.
Is that helpful? So
It is very helpful. Yes.
stages, I
Hmm.
think that will determine what is the tone and manner that you are going to use.
Great. And personalization nowadays is even easier thanks to AI. And
With
I
the
know,
AI, yes.
and you wrote two books about AI. I have them both. That's right behind you. So, and I think it's relevant to our topic because another way, okay, yeah, that would be great. And I'll make sure I'll put the link to them on the bio
Really
on YouTube.
appreciate it.
Of
Really
course.
appreciate it.
Sure. But I also believe that maybe this is a good time to utilize AI more. Some of the more tactical, there's a lot of resistance to AI. I've noticed among marketers because they feel it's going to replace us, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it probably will at some point, but maybe right now, for the time being, you can use AI to become a better marketer. I use it a lot, not only to write content or rough drafts or whatever. I use it for data analysis.
Oh, good
I
for you.
Yeah, it's like it just I've took a course. I read your book, but I also took a course in Coursera about like prompting, and like I know how to prompt better now, and it's like
Yay.
it's so amazing. And I'm subscribing to more AI tool. Like right now, my latest, like I'm just obsessed with Perplexity. For
Complexity is great in
Yeah.
terms of research. Yes.
hmm And then custom GPTs and stuff like that. I'm on X a lot, so Grok. But I think marketers, in my opinion, this is a good time to keep the overhead lower. Maybe even, at least I'm talking about from me on the agency side, maybe cancel or pause some of our premium paid tools and utilize AI instead to reduce some of the costs or improve productivity. And as you mentioned earlier, personalization is now totally doable with AI. So, what
Mhm.
are some of your takes on employing AI in this time of uncertainties to continue productivity because companies still need marketing?
That's a great question. And you mentioned about AI can be used in many different ways. And I 100% agree with you. And I think if you are novice to AI or any kind of AI bot, the best way to start possibly is with a ChatGPT. And the easiest way to cut into using ChatGPT for marketing is content creation. You can type as simple as write me a LinkedIn post, and you can add that LinkedIn post into the chat GPT, and they will write you a LinkedIn post. And over a period of time, they will learn about your voice and your tone and the manner. So that is one suggestion. Is basically you are using AI as a content creation tool. It doesn't matter if it's social media post or even the first draft of the blog post. And you can also write a prompt, say, hey, create a video script for 30 seconds using this blog post, and add that blog post link as a part of ChatGPT prompt. So there's a lot of way to use to help you. But if you are new to AI, the things I would suggest that you do is using AI as a content creation. Like I said, first draft, always use it as they create something, you see that's first draft and you have to edit. However, if you are professional, like a perfection users like Al, and Al mentioned about custom AI, and you can actually use AI as automation tool. So that's, for example, a great example is, let's assume that you do podcast
Mhm.
and you have to come up with a podcast title and a summary of a podcast description every single time when you finish your podcast. So that's a repetitive task that you have to do, right? Every time you do
Mhm.
an episode has been finalized or edited, that specific task, you can actually create a bot in AI, a custom AI bot that you enter like the script, I'm sorry, even the link of the
Mhm.
video or even a script, and it will give you a suggestion of the podcast titles and also the description and a summary of the podcast. So you have to think like, okay, there are things you do on regular basis and it's repetitive. It's a small, even though they are small repetitive task, you can actually create a custom bot to automate that. Is that helpful? So that's another way you can use it. And of course, there are many other ways you can do it, but these two, I think, for marketers will be a great starting point.
That's amazing, and I highly recommend marketers to learn more about prompting and also creating custom GPTs. Or if you're into Gemini, I think they call it custom gems, and
Yes.
it's just so useful. And to top that off, there's also other AI tools. A couple of weeks ago, I discovered Gamma. Because I always wait for my
What does
designer.
Gamma do?
Gamma is basically if you want a PDF or presentation that looks pretty and
Oh, really?
professional,
Okay.
you just give it your raw
Text.
content, and that would make it really pretty. Because we usually, I have to wait for my designer, and my designer is very talented, but obviously being designer, so it take a little bit too long. And if you need something on the fly, I rather wait for my designer. But if I need something quick, Gamma is amazing, and I think they have a paid version of it and a free version. Right now, I'm using the free version, and I think the
So
paid version.
can you add your brain guide to it so they can align
I
with
think I think you can do it. I believe you can do it with the paid version. Not the free version, but I think it's pretty smart. As you use it more, I've noticed that at least the tone of voice is getting better and better. But I'm trying to explore to see if I can do the colors and fonts and stuff like that, the branding. I'm gonna explore the paid version of it. I really like it. Just to edit this, we're live right now, but just to edit this, I use a couple of AI tools as well. I'm gonna put it on my website. So yeah, AI. Most of the AI tools tend to be very inexpensive. So
yeah.
this is a time for us to learn more about AI, take courses on Coursera. Follow people like you, just to learn more. And don't resist it. It's here. It's now, and it just if the more you resist it, the more you're gonna fall behind. Right?
Well said. Well said.
Yeah, cool. The B2Me marketing
Yep.
is quite challenging, especially when it comes to products and services. Maybe the example you mentioned earlier about manufacturing or enterprise software. What would in this time of uncertainty, those type of the bigger ticket B2B companies tend to take a lot of, I want to say, hits when it comes to conversions and leads and stuff like that. And what are some, you mentioned a lot of good stuff about changing your strategy, go after like organic and owned media. But what about the actual offering and the product? Should a SaaS enterprise SaaS company didn't have free trials before try to have a free trial? Or do you have any insights on that? Does it even matter? I would, as a user, I think, like for example, the Gamma I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't know about it if they didn't have a free version,
Free
right?
offers. Yeah.
So, and I when I deal with a SaaS client and that doesn't have a free trial or something, the first thing I ask why. They're like, oh, it takes a lot to make it happen. I'm like, well, make it happen because it will help all of us, including me, the marketer, with the
You
lead
get
gen.
to know your product. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any insights on that? Especially in this times, I think that's even more important to be able to offer something of value for free, even if it means a couple days.
Yes, I totally agree. For SaaS-based platform, I think having a free version is super important. The reason is you want people to understand the features of your products. What are some of the very enticing features that can make your target audience's job a whole lot easier or do their job faster? So that free offers, especially for SaaS-based platform, from my experience, is super critical. Unless, unless your product is 100% tailored for enterprises. If your products are tailored for enterprises, then what you need to do is encourage for demo. What can you do to kind of showcase your product in a demo experience that the enterprise customers can see the benefit like real time? And the offering, it depends on who are the audience and also the segments of the audience that you go after.
Mhm.
So that's on the SaaS-based platform. But if you offer physical product, it's very hard to deliver that physical product,
Yeah,
to someone to try.
yeah,
Then, a lot of people will focus on the going to events,
yeah.
especially, manufacturing segments and also channel partners, distributors. The event still matters, right?
Mhm.
That's one. And the other one is you can also offer like referral bonuses. like any kind of referral that you get certain discounts for the services that you offer. I understand now a lot of people take on that, but make that offer available. So what on the offer side of things you have to think through is what can you do to kind of accelerate either the demo request or close the deals. And you have to think through and work very closely with sales team. And once you guys determine that pricing strategy and offer, your job as a marketer is find a way to promote the heck out of it.
Hmm.
What can you do to get that message out there so people know about it? And like I said, it may be hard, but that will be kind of like opportunity if your budget got cut. But
Hmm.
this is kind of like the opportunity you co-created with your sales team. Maybe you can go to your management and just ask for exception to get the budget to make this happen. So that's another way to kind of turn or revive the shrinking budget to something that you can use for better good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good advice there. I agree 100%. And I guess my last question for you would be that, you're a medium sized or larger company. You still need to do marketing. You might need staff problems.
Yeah.
Is this a good time to hire someone in house full time, or is it probably better to hire someone fractional or a consulting or agency like ours? And I have a biased opinion, so I like to take your view on that.
Certainly. So in the mid-size or even enterprise, they always have what they call it the cap on their FTE,
Hmm.
full-time employee headcount. So most of the mid-size company or growing mid-size company plus the enterprise companies, they have a limit in terms of how many full-time employees they can hire. And in the time of uncertainty, a lot of time that FTE either capped or even being reduced. That's why we hear a lot of layoffs
Hmm.
during the uncertain times. So because of that, many marketing organizations, including sales, even HR and finance, they will turn into agencies and contractors for help. And I think that is the right approach to do. First of all, your FTE is capped or being
Hmm.
reduced. And but you still have a lot of
Yeah.
work that needs to be done. So the best way is actually looking to agency and the consultants or even contractors to help you. The key or the decision is not that should you look for agency and contractors to help. The key is looking for good ones,
Hmm.
and don't be so cheap on the
Yeah.
higher
Yeah.
rates. Qualities matters, so make sure that when you find somebody who is very good, make sure you also have a little bit of budget to support that. And don't, I hate saying this, don't haggle too much because
Yeah.
the quality of the support you're going to get is going to suffer,
Sure.
right? Ultimately, it's services that you are getting. And the services is a lot of scope discussion. If you reduce that budget too much or you trying to haggle too much, your scope is going to be reduced. So trying to find that balance, I completely understand the budget is lower, but at the same time, find what you can do to make sure you maximize the talent that you hire from your agencies and contractors, and at the same time maximize the budget that you have.
I mean, that was amazing. I fully agree with you. And one thing I'd like to add is that, having worked for other agencies before I did mine, is that you also want to make sure you don't fall for big names too easily. You want to interview them
Yeah,
because they tend to put a lot of junior level marketers once they onboard you.
yeah,
And whereas a smaller, more boutique agencies like ours, you get to work with people like me. It's just like,
yeah.
you
Like
will have
English.
my phone number, you have my personal email, my Facebook. So we tend to be more available. And that was my sales pitch for the day.
Well, that's good. That's good. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I mean, same thing here. If you are pitching, I'm pitching too. Like
Yeah.
if I
Sure.
am actually in with the clients, I'm in the trenches with them. I
Hmm.
myself in the trench with them, try to get things done.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reason to hire, I guess, contractor or smaller size agencies because they are hungry. They want a
Yeah.
job and they
Yes.
want to make you look
And
like
we are
a
flexible, right?
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you this last, but maybe you can tell me now. What are some of the consulting services you offer?
Well, that's a great question. And sometimes my clients will hire me as a fractional CMO, which is I go in there and I'm part of the leadership team and I work very closely with their marketing team and also the leadership team and try to set up a marketing in a way that their team can take over and run with it. I teach people how to fish. So that's a fractional CMO part of it.
Mhm.
The second thing is I also take on projects. For example, if you actually have to build a sales and marketing alignment, if you have to build the MarTech stack for say demand gen or for content creation, I can help on that specifically as well.
Cool.
The third thing is I do a lot of training. For example, if your team needs AI training, if your team needs to know how to write a good marketing plan, if your team needs to know how to better support sales, I do a lot of training related to that. And
That's awesome.
I'm very good and I am fun. Would you agree with me?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah, very memorable. I really, like I said earlier, really enjoyed your session in Atlanta at BTB. So
Thank
I,
you.
I hope I can have an opportunity to attend another one of those soon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you do give away chocolate, so
I do, and they are good chocolates.
they're good quality ones too. They're not like the cheap ones. Yeah. Cool. So, now that we covered that, we already covered your book. You did write a couple of books. Have you, with AI changing, are you keeping up, keeping them changing the edition, improving, or are they pretty much, you think when you wrote them, they're pretty much evergreen?
This is not necessarily evergreen. Well, okay, yes and no. These two books are very short.
Yeah.
This is only 100 pages.
Yeah.
This is only 50 pages.
Hmm.
So I think all of us have attention span problem.
Oh
We
yeah.
all become goldfish.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So these two books are very much get to the point. I get to the point as a B2B marketer,
Hmm.
what you need to know in the AI as of now.
Yeah.
Okay, of course, the AI is evolving very fast. I also made it very clear this book was written in September 2024.
Hmm.
Some of the stuff still applies, some may not be because AI is evolving fast. So you have to use a judgment call. Read it as a grain of salt.
Hmm.
This one is basically about prompts.
Yeah.
And for different marketing disciplines, what are the initial prompt that you can write? So I just give you some ideas in terms of the prompts that you can
Hmm.
write. That's it. So this is more kind of like a tool book, if you
Yeah.
will. And yeah, so these are from my perspective tool book. I like to write books that's useful for B2B marketers. And
Yeah.
at this time, everything I do is get to the point, get to the point, get to the point.
Yeah.
So that you kind of read it and then you move on. Like for example, this book, chapter 4, 5, and 6, done.
Yeah.
For this
Done.
book, chapter 3, done, right?
Done.
So it's very easy. You get to it and you can move around depending on your interest when you read the books.
Cool. All right. Well, let's conclude this with a couple of personal questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you're not being an awesome marketing leader, what are you doing?
Well, I'm doing marketing all the time. What do you mean I'm not doing marketing?
No, I mean, like, I'm hoping that at some point
Yes.
you're like you have some sort of hobby outside marketing.
Yeah, I do a lot of yoga. And if I'm actually at home and I'm not traveling, I usually do yoga 5 to 6 days a week.
Cool.
And recently I pick on golf. And I
Wow.
feel like I have to pave the way for retirement. Like when if I'm not working anymore, what kind of activities will I do? So I started picking on golf and it was a frustrating sport, that much I can tell you.
Yeah, golf has been on my to-do list for a long time, but I'm a father of a 6-year-old, so a
Oh,
lot.
you know what? Take your time, raise your
Take my
child.
time. Yeah,
My kids
raise my
are
child.
grown. My kids are grown. And I was like, you
Yeah,
know what? My kids are grown. I can do something else.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And we talked about, I think the book recommendations probably your books, but if you have any other recommendations, let us know.
Actually, to be honest with you, there's several books. Like the traction is actually pretty common. You probably
Hmm.
have seen it if you are in a SaaS
Yes.
platform. And then the other book I kind of like is the Revenue Accelerator
Hmm.
Rules. And this is really talking about how to use artificial intelligence, predictive technologies way before the ChatGPT became popular.
Yeah.
So they more focus on what kind of predictive models that you should use. and to forecast in terms of revenue acceleration. And I thought this is an interesting.
Who is it by?
This is actually, it was by it's by three authors.
Okay.
Actually two authors.
Okay.
Sashi Upadhyay and Kent McCormick. But I would just say revenue acceleration rules.
Okay.
Just remember the
Just
title.
go on Amazon, look for that. Cool. All right. And I think the last question is going to be a little fun question. If you could be a superhero, which superhero would
You
you
know,
be?
you guys will be very surprised about my answer. I want to be Deadpool.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
he's good looking, he's fun. I really like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
And the Deadpool is not necessarily a superhero.
Yeah.
And that there is a dark side of of Deadpool. And you know the movie, if you haven't seen it, you know what I'm
Of
talking
course.
about.
Yeah.
There's a very dark sense of humor. And but I really it's set aside the violence.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just like the violence of the film and the factor of it. I really liked his internal struggle, you know, as a person, right?
Yeah.
And he wants to be good, but at the same time, he's horrible,
Yeah.
and how he's struggled with that. So I really want to be Deadpool.
Yeah. I think we have that in common. I want to be a Sith and a Jedi. I'm always both.
Yeah,
Like I feel
exactly.
like I have the dark side too, and I have the good side. Pam, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time. I know you someone like you is busy and you have to go. I really enjoyed this session, and I hope I can run into you in some of the upcoming conferences.
Definitely. I hope to see you again,
Thank
Al.
you. Take care. You have a nice day.